Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Now this is boxwood. It's a very slow growing bushy tree and it never gets very big, so the pieces you get from it are generally quite small. The grain is incredibly tight, and for instance this piece here is probably about 15 to 20 years worth of growth, so you kind of get the idea of how big this place gets. The advantage of it having such slow growth for us is that it makes for absolutely incredible wood to turn. Very, very fine, very, very beautiful, light yellow colour. Now what we're going to do is make a present. It's my daughter's graduation soon. She's just finishing her GCSE exams. She's worked very, very hard and I'm incredibly proud of her. So I'm going to make her a nice little box. Now to make it easy on myself, I've got a nice plastic tube here which I'm going to use for the form. And I'm going to attach it to a bit of plastic covered board with some silicone. When that's gone off, I'm going to take these prepared pieces, put them in and fill it with a nice coloured resin. Right, so the first thing to do, as it's going to take the longest to set, is to attach this to the board. Now a lot of people use hot glue for things like this, but the hot glue I've got isn't high temperature hot glue, so it will let go if resin goes into it. So I'm having to resort to slightly slower setting silicone. I will eventually get around to getting some high temperature hot melt glue, but at the moment I haven't, so I'm going to make do with this. Okay, I'll put this somewhere very carefully to set. Okay, so while that's setting, we'll start talking more about what we're going to be doing. Now this boxwood, as I say, is a very, very beautiful wood, but we can't insert it into the mould as it is because it's covered in bark. It won't set, it won't adhere to it very well, and it's got a good chance of peeling off and coming off as we're turning. So we need to strip all the bark off, and the best way to do that is to turn it into dowels effectively. Now not all of the pieces are going to be able to turn into a dowel. I'm not going to be able to do very much with something like that, but luckily I do have a reasonable amount where I can pick the best pieces out and we can get enough to be able to put into the mould nicely. Right, so I'm going to start turning some of this back. I'll not make you watch all of them, but I'll give you an idea of what I'm doing. Okay, first piece is on the lathe. We're going to be turning at about 1200 RPM. We need to try and get 7 inches of usable wood out of each one, so exactly where I'm going to be cutting or turning will depend on how much of a bend I've got on each piece. So, okay, let's get started. Okay, first one done. I'm sure I'm going to be an awful lot better by the time I get to the 10th. Okay, dowels are all made. They're all nicely in position in our mould. Now when we pour resin into here, these dowels will start to float. So I've just laser cut a little stopper which fits nicely on the top. I'm just going to put a small bit of spare dowel on there and then tape it over, and that will stop it going anywhere. Right, we can make up some resin now. Okay, so we're going to be using the deep pour casting resin from Let's Resin, as we usually do. I did use the rice method on the mould, and we need about 800 millilitres of resin to fill it. So I'm going to make up 900 just to be on the safe side. Now this is a 2-to-1 ratio, and I'm going to mix up 2 different batches, so each one needs to have about 450 millilitres in each one. As it is 2:1 ratio, we need to put, first of all, part A in at 300 millilitres. And then we'll top that up to 450 with part B. Okay, now to mix them, very important. We're going to mix each one for about 2 minutes. Okay, now for the fun bit. My daughter's favourite colours, who this is a present for, are on the pink spectrum. So we're going to mix up 2 slight variations, each one containing a flat colour from the Let's Resin range. We're going to be using a mica powder, again from Let's Resin, and also a chameleon powder. So we're going to have fun and see how these come out. So in this one, first of all, we've got watermelon red. We've got fuchsia. Just a dollop of this. And also a plum chameleon powder. And then this one, we're using pink, purple, and a magenta chameleon colour. Right, let's mix these together and see how they come out. Okay, now these 2 colours are very similar but very subtly different. So we're going to let them sit for a little while and then pour them in about an hour's time. Okay, I think it's been long enough, so let's try a simultaneous pour. Okay, now I'm just going to give it a few minutes to settle into all the holes before I move this into the pressure pot, just in case I need to add any more. Okay, it's been about 4 days since we put this in the pressure pot, so hopefully it's all gone well. We have lost a little bit of the resin height, but I'm sure we're going to be fine. So hopefully we can get this out without too many problems. Okay, looks like a big piece of candy. Bit of a chew to get out, but we've got it out in the end. Now we've got a few air gaps in the top here. You can see the very thin resin there, it's flexible. Now I think that was from this piece of the stopper which I made for it. So I'm going to have to try and redesign these if I'm going to be using something like that again. So we're going to get this started. We're going to mount it on the lathe between centres like that, And this is going to be the top of our pot. Now, making pots can be a little bit complicated in terms of the order in which you do things, but we'll try and make things as simple as possible so you can have a go if you fancy it. Okay, we're all nicely on the lathe, we're all sharpened up. I'll put my mask and face shield on, and we shall start turning at about 1000 RPM. Initially, we're just going to square this up, which won't take too long, and then we're going to start creating a tenon on this end. Okay, we're just about round. Just that little bit there to expose, but I think we'll just move on for now. So we'll start creating a tenon on this side. We'll have to go in a little way because I don't want to have the stopper on the top that we made as part of the tenon. So I'll get rid of that and then start cutting in. Okay, we've got a nice healthy sized tenon we can use to turn it around and hold it nice and firmly. We're not losing that wood at the end because this piece of wood I want to eventually use as the finial for the top of the pot. Okay, got it turned around. So top of the pot, bottom of the pot. Before I start to put a recess in here so we can turn it around again and part it off to create the top and the bottom, I need to just put a little bit of a shape in this. I don't want too much, but I think if I just slightly nip it in the middle, then it'll vary the width of these bits of box we've got in there, and I think it may look quite nice. We also need to expose these couple of pieces that are still below the surface of the resin. I like that shape. It's really done something quite nice with the wood. Showing off the grain of this beautiful boxwood. A nice contrast with the stripes of pink in between. Right, so I'll quickly flatten off the base and put a recess in there. Okay, that's the recess in. I'm going to quickly sand and finish this. I'll bring you back when that's done. Don't worry, there'll be plenty of other bits of sanding we need to do, so you will get to see some. Okay, we've finished the bottom and turned it round, so that's now the top again. Next job is to part off the lid from the base. Now, I'm thinking somewhere around there. So we have a nice big healthy lid. It'll be hollowed out as well inside, so there will be some usable area in there. It can kind of double up as a pen pot or an enclosed capsule, whatever she wants to do with it. So I think just around there. I'm just going to raise up my tool rest a little bit. I'm going in with a record power parting tool, and rather than just going straight in, I'll be lifting that tip up, letting it engage, and then pushing it in and down. There we go. We now have one lid, one base. I'll keep this to one side for the moment, and we'll start to hollow out the body of it. Okay, we're going to start off the hollowing with a Forstner bit. Now, I'm not going to make the same mistake I made last week by losing my mark and ending up drilling into the tenon. So this week I'm just going to put a bit of tape around the shaft, which I can't lose track of. And that's that. Okay, that's nicely hollowed out with the Forstner bits. Looking pretty good. So last bit to do is to widen this hole by about another ½ an inch with a negative rake carbide. Okay, hollowing done. That negative rake carbide really does leave quite a nice finish. So anyway, once again, I'll quickly sand this and I'll bring you back when that's done. Okay, the inside of the piece is all nicely sanded and polished. Now I just need to cut down a small recess on this edge here, which is going to act as the locking mechanism between the lid and the base. Right, I'll put a bit of finish on that at the end, but I just need it as it is in case we need to do any fine tweaking with the fit at the end. Right, I shall take this off and put on the lid. Lid's on the lathe. I'm just going to quickly flatten off this top, and then we can start translating some of these measurements we need to create a tenon on here, which will go and make this a nice snug fitting. Okay, the inside diameter is 76 millimeters, so we need 38 millimeters here. I'm going to err slightly on the pessimistic side. They're very pessimistic. That's better. Right, the outside one is around there, but very much on the inside of that line. So once we get it hollowed out, then we'll start nibbling in at this edge until we get it to fit with the base. You'll figure it out in a second when I show you. That's pretty much where we want to be inside the lid. So I'll now start to come in from the edge here, nice and square, until we can get a tenon that fits nicely into the base of our pot. Excellent. Right, that'll do that. I'm just going to make this a fraction deeper, and then I'll sand and polish the inside, and then we can bring them both together on the lathe. Okay, we've got the top and the bottom all in place. Now before I start to do a final shaping on this outside, I just want to get rid of this little piece here and start creating the finial. That will be the last job to do, but I need to get rid of this area here and see what shape we're going to put on the lid before I start finishing the shaping on the outside. It's got a little catch on the edge and knocked this side off. Right, it's going to be a little bit smaller as well. Right, I like that. That's nice. Okay, right, let's get on to shaping the rest of this. Okay, it's looking good. Right, next step, sand and polish this outside, then tape it round so we can finish off the finial. Then we sand and polish that, and then we're done. Excellent. Right, I shall let you watch some of the sanding this time, but just a bit of it, and I shall bring you back when we're done. Okay, sanded everything except for the top of the finial, which we still need to finish off. So initially, give it a nice rub over with isopropyl alcohol. Just let that evaporate. We're going to cut back the surface, make it even smoother with an abrasive paste. Once again, clean up the surface. And now with the final polish, this is experimental polish 5.1, which has been doing a very good job so far. I'm pleased with it. All right, we'll buff this in. And then I'm going to tape round and finish off the top, just to take a couple of passes across there just to flatten it off. After that, I'll bring you back with a special guest and we shall take a look at what we've done. Okay, let's take a look. Right, and there we go. A rather pretty little box made from boxwood and deep pour resin. I'm really pleased with the way this one has come out. The fine grain on the boxwood has really helped give this such a beautiful feel when it's in the hands. This is the first piece I've made with a new pressure pot, and it's really done quite well, apart from the small mishap we had around the top, which I'm not quite sure what happened, but the rest of it has turned out incredible. There are no bubbles inside whatsoever, and I could not be happy the way it's come out. As I said at the start, making boxes can be a little bit tricky. There's an awful lot of processes you have to go through to getting it to work and not wasting any time redoing certain areas. But if you take your time, think about the procedures you need to do, then they are an awful lot of fun to make. And I really have enjoyed making this one. Right. If you've enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate a like and subscribe. And if you share it as well, then that would be absolutely amazing. And don't forget that if you do leave a comment as well, then you are going to be entered into the next giveaway, which I promise will be coming very, very soon. Well, that's about it for this week. As I mentioned at the start, this is a very, very special project because I wanted to make something incredibly special for a young girl who I'm incredibly proud of because she has worked so hard on her exams. So Ashton.
Me?
Yeah, thank you so much for being my hands.
Oh, it's for me!
It's for you, darling.
Oh, really thank you.
Well done, darling.
It's for me!
It's for you. Because you have worked so hard.
Whoa!
Right, we're still on camera.
Oh, sorry.
Right, anyway, there we go. Thank you very much indeed. And I'll see you all next week.
Thanks for watching, like and subscribe.